Hi everyone, it's me, Krylios, Team Rayceen Productions MC and producer. And joining me today is Rae The Conjurer. Hi Ray, how are you?
Hi, I'm good. How are you?
I am doing really good. It is so great to be here with you and to see you today. For the viewers who don't have never listened to your music, they don't know who you are. Let them know what the Ray the Conjurer experience is like.
Well, hi. I make music that creates experiences that gives us space for healing, space for reflection, space to kind of embrace that emotional growth. For me, I really stepped into the title of Rae the Conjurer this past year when I kind of decided I'm ready to take up more space. I'm
Hmm.
ready to be here and I'm ready to own the fact that I've been calling stuff into existence since I was a wee one, as we all do, honestly, like as
Hmm.
Black people. But for me, that's something I was really starting to see come up more and more in my journey. And I
Hmm.
wanted to start sharing that through my music and my foundational project. So, yeah.
I love that. I love that. Talk to me about how, you first got into music and really what, started this journey.
Ooh, oof. Okay. Well, when I was a wee one, I would not be quiet. And my parents, of course, as you know, when kids aren't quiet, you send them to go on a stage. And I started singing a bit in church programs and stuff like that when I was really young, playing piano here and there. And like off and on lessons. I moved a lot as a kid, so it wasn't super consistent. But I was lucky to go to a school with a great music program coming up, and I was able to really absorb a lot. Although, like a lot of spaces, especially because I was in musical theater more so and was really interested in that. A lot of those spaces, as theater is kind of infamous for, don't really incorporate a lot of Black stories. So for me, I kind of got to, it was kind of like a half, one foot out the door, one foot inside, but I still got to learn a lot from that perspective. And for me, as I grew into my artistry as a musician, I was able and like really lucky to be able to attend Howard University for 2 years in their music program.
HU, you
No,
know,
hello.
honey. Yes. Love it, love it, love it.
But as Ta-Nehisi Coates said, I was kind of one of those students who like ended up going to the Mecca, not so much Howard
Yeah.
University. Like I was good in my studies and everything, but like my teachers were really great and kind of saw, you're doing like a lot at once here. And I don't know if this program, we're very like regimented and like, you're getting it, but like you seem to want to do a lot. So
Hmm.
maybe this isn't the choice for you. And at the time I didn't understand, but like growing into that, like growing into myself, really, I kind of was able to step back and see, oh, they were so right. Like definitely for me, it was also, there was some financial stuff there with not really being able to afford to continue to go to Howard. So I ended up moving to Baltimore City and becoming a teacher. So I taught music lessons. I taught around the DMV also. Like I was teaching in DC one weekend and then back in the city for just I was teaching with a group called Leaders of Tomorrow Youth Center, and they were great and really gave me an opportunity to grow as a teaching artist. But really, when stuff started popping off, I had started playing piano and stuff at Howard, songwriting there, and I'd kind of just been slowly developing that craft and getting more comfortable with myself as a songwriter. I really wasn't for a minute, but I kept going, and at this point, I've been able to kind of be embraced by the Baltimore City community. I started going to Coppin State, and I was really able to kind of start using all of my skills in like communications and like education and my art, and just kind of making a lot of like cool decisions that have kind of gotten me to the place I'm at now. So as an artist, I kind of come from a like more so like a director perspective, not so
Yeah.
much, like there, and that's kind of why it takes me a little while to do certain things, projects, because there's the part where yes, you're like really into the music, but overall for me, like stepping back, I'm like, okay, but what's the impact I want this to have? And for me, I'll just say, like, long story short, I learned a lot of the technical aspects of what I do at Howard. I learned that community building through artistry at Howard, but Coppin State really allowed me to incorporate activism, community principles, and just really like the connection aspect that I think is really important for artists to have. So that's kind of that's how
Awesome.
we got here. But you know,
Yeah. Well, you said in the past year you've really leaned into, this new era, this new character of Ray the Conjurer, really exploring your music. What is it within the past year that led you into this? And, talk to me about your musical mind, and the kind of music that you put out and what you want audiences to get from your music.
yeah, well, I'll just start. My music was always a healing space for me. And this past year, with everything going on, and then also just experiences I have been having, in my work, in my community, I kind of really saw this as an opportunity to start letting others in. I think I was scared to for a while because, like, I had some experiences throughout. It's kind of been a 5-year period journey since that I've really been writing these songs and everything. And for me, I think I got tired of putting so much in to other people and not
Mm-hmm.
myself, and I was pouring from an empty cup.
Ah.
And at a certain point, I was like, okay, well, what makes me feel full? And every time I have one of these like little discoveries in my life, it comes back to music. I don't know why I overcomplicate it, but it's there, and we're back there every time. And for me, what I want people to experience when listening to my music is like, yes, have that opportunity to cry, have that space to like breathe. Like, I feel like the world rushes us through a lot of our feelings just day to day. Like, okay, like it's time to be okay now. Like,
Mhm.
no, we all just like went through a whole thing. Some of us, are getting used to being outside again. Some of us still haven't, coped with the loss of, friends and family that have gone this past year for, whichever pandemic, the pandemic of, police brutality and just mistreatment and just all that stuff that's existed and, been here. And then, the literal sickness that's just kind of been, it doesn't really discriminate. So, well,
Yeah.
it did, but, that's a different, that's a different story. But for me, I just kind of wanted to give folks that space, and welcome being able to feel your feelings.
I love that. Well, talk to me a little bit about your upcoming project, this visual EP. And I see you spent some time making music videos, all of that. Talk to me about this visual EP and, the single as well.
Baltimore, yes. Oh wait. All right, there we go. So this visual EP is called Seven. Because they're not because, well, seven's like a very, it's a good number. It's a very lucky number. It's a number that represents spiritually perfection, things coming to a whole. It appears in a lot of texts,
Mm.
of course, as we all know. But for me, 7 is also my life path number. So it was kind of very ironic, and I felt just very like, I kind of think aligned, that I had 7 songs that I felt were so near and dear to my heart, that I wanted to share with folks. And like when I stepped back, I think, literally, and maybe I made 2 in 1 year or something, but there was like kind of a song for each year. And I
Yeah.
stepped back and it was this big masterpiece, and it was interesting, kind of metaphoric, because it was like everything that I had gone through, kind of like looking at those 7 songs, it like made sense when I looked at that big picture. So the 7 visual EP I'm directing and producing it. I'm collaborating with a director of photography named Tatiana Weems and my amazing production designer, Kai Crosby Singleton. Our whole production team and, even our crew and the folks working with us are Black, queer, and 70% of us are of trans experience. So for us, it's really, and for me, sharing this, it's really about kind of amplifying our stories, amplifying our voices, and showing folks, not necessarily showing, because that whole idea of proving, that used to be very important to me, but like at this point, I'm kind of just like, no, screw it. But I kind of wanted to really embrace the fact that these stories are ours and we deserve to tell them. There's kind of this theme that happens sometimes that, you know, people are talked about without them being in the room. And in, you know, I don't, you know, especially for independent artists, I don't really see a lot of spaces where our stories are being embraced outside of tragedy. And like, don't get me wrong, there are some, I identify as gender transcendent, so I do identify as trans. However, for me, there are like a lot of spaces I see that don't really lean into the fact, or like I want to really amplify the fact that we are divine and always have been and have always been here and are not new and can exist all at once. Like, and that kind of goes for a lot of the themes in this piece. There is joy, like absolute pure joy, and there's also grief that doesn't, neither of them, you know, it doesn't have to be one or the other. We're very multidimensional. We all are very like, you know, here, but just, I kind of wanted to use this project as an opportunity to say like, hey, we aren't to be minimized and packaged and consumed. We are people, just like, you know, not everybody, it seems, is afforded that right to be seen as a person with like, you know, it has to be a trope or it has to be, I don't want that. And for me in this space, it's like I'm working with Baltimore artists, some amazing folks who are just really, I grew up in the DMV, and for me, Baltimore is really home.
Awesome.
Yeah, but this, the single also is kind of like with that whole joy, theme of joy and everything. I created it with club DJ Mighty Mark, who recently was seen in Dark City Beneath the Beat on Netflix, produced and I think directed also. Yeah, she definitely directed it. I don't know if she produced it. TT the artist, and essentially like they really did a great job of amplifying club stories, which like automatically include like a lot of Black trans folks. So it was great to work with him and like really just kind of, you know, it was kind of random too, because I wanted help with one particular song and he ended up, he's like, do you like this? And I'm like, yes. So I got 2 songs, and that was like really great. And it was a great experience working with him. He's like a pro, and a great mentor to the Baltimore City community, especially.
So how can our viewers, you know, get the EP, get the single? How can they, you know, go out and get that, support you, as well as, you know, follow you and keep up with everything that you're doing?
Yeah, for sure. So first and foremost, you can sign up to my email list. I have a link, or a website. Hello. You can sign up through to my email list on my website, raytheconjurerofficial.com. You can follow me on Instagram, Ray_the_conjurer. And then on Twitter, it's just Rae The Conjurer. My EP will be coming out in October, but we will be releasing singles up until that date. So between, I think like August and September, it's just gonna be heavy singles and stuff. Yeah, and you can find the single on Spotify. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, Rae The Conjurer, thank you so much for joining me today. Such a pleasure chatting with you. And I wish you all the success in everything that you do.
Thank you. I appreciate you having me.
Thank you. And to our viewers, thank you for watching. Bye, everyone. We thank our production sponsor, Whitman Walker Health, for continuously supporting Team Rayceen Productions. Thank you.